Hey, welcome back to Powered by 8 Racing YouTube channel. It's time to get the car back to rolling. So today we are doing the suspension. Got to get all that back on the car. So we've got one already done. I did that just to do some test fitting. So the rear, we're going to install that, and then we're going to have to cut that fender out. We've got rear A-arms, front A-arms, the dual adjustable Penske's, the G-Speed drop spindles, and some new hubs, and the rear van steel bump steer kit. And over here, I almost forgot about, we have a bare front tie rod bump steer kit. So that's the gist of today's video. Try to slap that on the car. Shouldn't be too difficult, just a bunch of bolts. Hardest part, I think, is going to be finding all of the bolts and where I stored them all the past few months that the car's been down. If you didn't catch my wheel stud video, which was before this one, it might have been the one right before this, you'll see that I installed these wheel studs. Now they've been made available now on gspeed.com, and they have them made for themselves. And what's nice is it's got that nice alignment. So this is much better than what you can get. And as far as I know, they're the only ones right now that you can get off the shelf anyways that has the front part like that. So anyways, let's get to it. I'm going to start digging in, starting with the passenger rear. All right.
Powered by 8.
Alright, so let's get started on the lower. I've got the AMT kit for the camber kit. This is only going to be used in the front location on the rear. The rear location uses the stock bolt, and then also that's where the sway bar attaches to in the back. So we'll get the lower control arm on real fast. All right, this bolt has to go this direction towards the back of the car because that's where the sway bar connects. So the sway bar goes here and here. All right, so now that that's done, we should be able to pull this one forward. Yep. There we go. And then this one will only go on the way that it's supposed to. So because the front one's set, if I try to flip it any direction, it's not going to align. It has to be mirrored with what is happening on the front. Pretty good engineering feat they did there. Because when you're at the track, pop these off, pull these out, make one adjustment, flip it, put it back on. If you have the abilities to do it at your own shop, you could really dial in what each one of those is going to do on your setup. So you know, if I put it on 2 max this way, it's going to give me -1 degrees or whatever the case might be. But anyways, that's what's good about these guys. They'll tighten that up. All right, so let's put the canister up in here. Pretty simple install, especially when you don't have to take stuff apart and put it back on. Looking at Alpha Tauri, they've been quicker than us, but we've been scoring with both cars, and that's been good. So we definitely All right, get the upper A arm on first, then I'll pull this up, slip this on top, sandwich it all together. A bit easier that way. Alright, so I'm not really sure what happened, but the video messed up. I have to clearance the rear of the fender for the C6 cradle with the big tires that I run. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of marking spots, cutting it down with a body saw, and sanding it up with just a pneumatic belt sander. It gives me enough clearance for all of the tires, and then I go back to put everything back together. And I just put it in time lapse just for the sake of time. That's what time lapse is for, right? So I'll leave it here. I'll pick up in a little bit back and all right, so we got the rear done. Moving on to the front. So we got all that stuff to do. So let's talk about these AMT. You're going to have, this is driver side. You'll see it has a D. This is going to be the front position. So this is going to go towards the front of the car. And then the back one is labeled back, and it has the same D for drivers. Now you'll also notice there's an S and there's a T. And that just means this is the track alignment and this is street alignment. And each is going to move it a different and more extreme. So if you want like an extreme street, then you could use it here and you'll have like a good street. If you're going to do track and it's designated track, slicks and all that good stuff, then you can put it on the T side, and that's what you're going to be looking for as far as your positions. So we're going to go the most extreme for track, so we're going to have it in the max position there, and we'll do that for both. Now the difference with the difference between the front and the rear is that the front you actually have 2 plates for each side. So rear you only have 1, which is in the front of the rear, and then the rear is just solid. And then for the front though, you will be adjusting both of the positions. It also comes with some shims. I'm not going to use shims right now. That's to set some other things up. My car usually doesn't need it because I've got some modifications done in there that takes care of all that for me by accident, but it's still good. But anyways, let's get putting this in. So this is just a time lapse of me putting the front suspension on. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the rest of the video. I had a short period of time to get this done. I had a special guest come into town to help me finish off the car, and because of that, I just had to get it done. So after I get the front suspension done, I moved on to the brakes. I kind of showed the brake kit in the next little clip here, and but I don't show it afterwards. I'll show you that later in another video when I do the alignment. Maybe I'll show you the brakes and stuff. But for the sake of time, I just had to get everything knocked out, and I didn't really have time to record. And then at the end, I'll show you the startup of the car. Obviously, we still don't have a proper tune, so it's not running perfectly. But the car started, it's able to move, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the video, and we'll show you the rest of what's going on in the next series. All right, got all this suspension on, all the suspension's done. So we finished that up already. Obviously we talked about it. Now I'm gonna move on to the brakes. So we got all new AP Racing brakes. It's a big kit. I gotta get this done tonight. So I'm gonna knock it out. I'll catch up with you guys once it's on the car. You're not really gonna miss much. It's a pretty standard job. So I'm gonna get it done and I'll show you it when it's finished up. All right, this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. The car is ready to get started. We've done a big, about a 4-day thrash session on getting it back together and cleaned up the idle a little bit. So here we go.
Boom.
Powered by your old shoe.